Hey, everybody, this is Scooter. We're playing a new board game. Gene, take it away. Thanks, Scooter. We're playing Don't Support the Show. And this is not even though it's fun, Scooter, it's not ironic, is it? Gene, I've tried to do, neither one of us, I think, has a grasp of that word, but you may be correct because it's actually paradoxical making a sleep podcast, and that's why we're doing this. Now you got two words you don't know. Scooter, tonight's winner is people that listen in the most average way. The average listener, Scooter, but no one's average here. Thanks, Gene, for pointing that out. It is true, but there is a average listening style, and those are people that wind down during the intro, fall asleep during the episode. You listen to one or two episodes a week. The episode stops at the end of the episode, or you have a sleep timer set, and you listen, for a couple months at a time, and you realize, hey, I like the ads. I don't mind the ads, or the ads are necessary. And that's how most people listen, right? And the sponsors and the listener support has you covered. If you only listen to a couple of episodes a week while you're going through a tough time, you wind down during the intro, and then you fall asleep during the story, and the episode ends, and at some point you're asleep or you're comforted or you get what you need, and you listen to whatever, like 10, 12, 20, 30 episodes a year. You don't need to support the show. Sorry, I went into Gene, I was doing an imitate. Thank you, Scooter. They already won. The show's here for them. They don't need to support the show. The sponsors and the listeners do it for them. Yeah, so you're in a group. You don't really need to support the show. You could if you choose, and you'll hear more about it, but you don't need to. And when you hear me with some intensity trying to get through to listeners to support the show, you're not one of the groups I'm trying to get a hold of. But thanks for listening. And the reason we're doing this in fun and then more calm terms, other parts of the show, is so you know you're welcome here, that it's good news. It's good you're here. I'm here to bring you sleepy joy, comfort, and delight in the deep, dark night. And I'm trying to mix up and change up what I'm doing so I can remind you I'm glad you're here. Thanks, Gene. Thanks, everybody. I love making the show for you. And people love supporting it for not just their style listening, but your style listening too. Your comfort in the deep, dark night. Thanks.
This show is supported by Blue Land. Living a cleaner and more sustainable lifestyle by reducing single-use plastics is a small action that makes a big difference. And Blue Land is on a mission to make it easy for everyone to make those sustainable choices. They believe that hardworking, clean products can be the norm, not the exception, so that you can do better for your family and the planet at the same time. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blue Land's 100% microplastic-free, EPA Safer Choice certified formulas are safe to use around people, pets, and plants. You'll love not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets your house clean. Blue Land products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands, and the formulas are free from dyes, parabens, and harsh chemicals. Plus, Blue Land is a certified B Corp and certified cruelty-free by Leaping Bunny. Their formulas are EPA Safer Choice certified, and many have received the Gold Material Health Certificate from Cradle to Cradle. And right now, Blue Land has a special offer for listeners. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/PRX. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/PRX for 15% off. That's blueland.com/PRX to get 15% off.
I don't know if you have this feeling, but I constantly find myself daydreaming about finding an expert who can solve a very specific problem in my life. And one specific problem that comes up every year is filing taxes. But luckily, finding someone who can solve that problem is easy with TurboTax. They have dedicated tax experts who are there to help you every step of the way. With TurboTax Expert Full Service, you can match with an expert who will handle your taxes from start to finish, no matter how complex. You can even hand off all your tax stuff within the TurboTax app. And then you can see updates on your expert's progress while you go about your day. You can check exactly where your tax return stands right there on your phone. And then if someone ever says to you, man, I wish there were an expert who could do my taxes for me, you can say, oh, I know someone. Visit TurboTax.com to match with your expert today. It's only available with TurboTax Full Service Experts. The real-time updates are only in the iOS mobile app.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, navels everywhere. How come navel's only used like in navel gazing? I guess no one says. How How's your navel? Like, I guess, you can't say, you wouldn't say that. But I've heard of fuzzy navel, which is a drink, navel gazing. Other than that, it's called belly button, right? There's probably an official term. Is navel the official term? Am I using navel correctly? Because I was going to say, this will be a fuzzy episode of navel gazing, because these are the extra sleepy episodes where we talk about storytelling in the podcast and stuff like that. So we're going to be looking at the season of Journey into the World of Friends, where it went, a lot of unexpected twists, not plot twists, meanders, and maybe talk about what's coming up or the influences of what's coming up in our next series. If you're new, welcome to sleep. If you're a regular listener, this is great because you could sleep through this. Then you could listen to it during the day, and not as background noise, not pay attention to it, and then fall asleep to it again. And, then if you wake up and you need it, then you say it, and then on the fourth try, say, you know what, I need a little comfort in the deep, dark night. You could listen to it yet again. And then years from now, you could listen to it. So that's the beauty of the show. If you're new, though, this is a podcast that's meant to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff while you fall asleep. It's a very different show, but you are welcome here. I'm so glad you're here. I really hope this podcast can help. It is kind of a niche or whatever you want to say. I don't know how to put it. It's very different and probably different than what you're expecting. But I would say give it a few tries. Like, lots and lots of people over the 10 years I've been making this show said, hey, it took 2 or 3 tries for me to realize, the show is as fuzzy. It is it's a fuzzy show of navel. The kind of, you're right. You may be right. I don't know, because I fell asleep, or kept me company and made me feel less alone in the deep, dark night. Those are the essential things I'm here to do. And for some reason, if you already loathe the show, you say fuzzy navels, I don't know. I mean, if you're a fan of fuzzy navels, that's great. I'm not saying anything bad about it. You say, people do have strong feelings about navel gazing, because you never hear, great job navel gazing there on those 1,000 podcasts you made. I'm not even sure what it means. Luckily, I'm surprised I was never, a teacher never said it to me. Can you quit your navel gazing? Because I guess in a school, talk about a giggling classroom. I'm sure there was times, I don't know if there ever was gazing at my navel in class. But I was doing a lot of gazing out the window, that 1,000-yard stare. And at my desk, I'd gaze at anything. But I don't think I've ever gazed at my navel in that way. As a matter of fact, you see, most of the time, you say, well, I'm just doing a check. I'm just double checking. That lint collector in my laundry does not collect all lint. My navel's got a backup. My navel's got your back. How about that? I do have to walk by my washer and dryer. But when you see your dryer, just say, don't worry, my navel's got your back, buddy. My navel has, that one piece of lint that's going to get by. Did you know that this is supposed to be an efficient start of a sleep podcast? So I'm glad you're here, I guess, is my point. If you don't like the show, I went on a tangent when I was going to tell you, if you don't like the show, we have a website set up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. With other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there. But do give the show a few tries. You really have nothing to lose, because the show is ad-supported, so it's free to listen to and check out. So just kind of see how it goes, and hopefully you'll become part of this family of gazers and daydreamers who keep each other company in the deep, dark night. So I'm really glad you're here. What we got coming up is support. Most people enjoy listening to the show linearly to this ad-supported version, but I'll explain in the intro if you decide, I'd prefer a different experience. There are ways to adjust the show for free. or, become a premium member, get access to different stuff. But for most people, they just let the show ease them into bedtime, and then they fall asleep later on. So see how it goes at first. So we got support coming up. That's how the show is free for everybody. Then there's a long meandering intro, which is separate from the support. And that's meant to ease you into bedtime and help you drift off. It's kind of part of your bedtime routine. And then later on, it'll be a bedtime story, kind of looking at a couple of like our recent series. And those are usually really lulling because I'm trying to remember, hey, why did I make this creative choice? And you say, and people are always like, you put a lot of thought into, and I say, well, I do because it's important. But it's kind of thoughts you could sleep through, obviously, like the rest of this intro. So that's that. And then, I'm glad you're here. And I really appreciate you coming by. And these sponsors are how we're able to do this for free for you twice a week.
Taking care of your eyes shouldn't be a hassle. That's why Warby Parker is a one-stop shop for all your vision needs. Our prescription glasses and sunglasses are expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Stop by a nearby store or use our app to virtually try on frames and get personalized recommendations. Did we mention we offer eye exams and take vision insurance too? For everything you need to see, head to your nearest Warby Parker store or visit warbyparker.com today. That's warbyparker.com.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and this is our review, like a look back and maybe look forward at our next series of our episodically modular series, Journey into the World of Friends. And these are very lulling episodes, they tend to be, but then for people that are interested in the process, they may do a day listen to this episode. So, yeah, it's like where I look at kind of, the series where, like, especially with this one, there's a lot of unexpected things. I guess it's interesting because it's like some stuff I'm like, oh, did I talk about this? But it's like probably not. So, yeah, let's see, let's set some agenda here. I guess we could start out with, instead of the concept, some of the nuts and bolts of it, just because that's what's in front of me. So this was the first series starting on episode 8, apparently, where I moved from handwritten notes or writing the show with handwriting on pen and paper to handwriting the show digitally. So I'll just talk a little bit about that process. But if you're a patron and you're interested in that, I could probably provide the handwritten notes in a way. I just got to figure out, maybe I need to watermark them. I don't know. And this is something we've done in the past. Let me walk through that past history and one other digital attempt I did make that did not work. Okay, so throughout the history of the show, both for the TV recaps and the written episodes, I handwrite them. I've used a multitude of different pens. Aren't that important to me. I'm left-handed, and I'm not. Yeah, I do buy pens, but then you also pens appear in your life, and I like a nice I'm not super particular about my pens. If you are, that's totally cool. I mean, I could be particular, but then it's like, and there have been times I have, but then I just lose the pens. So that's the only reason I'm not particular about the pens, is I'm more of a lost and found pen person, not in the lost and found. But like with pens, Stephen Stills said it best, write with the one you're with. Pens. It was that the song? It wasn't a Crosby, Stills and Nash song. It was just Stephen Stills. When you're writing, and it's like write with the pen you have, write with the pen you're with. Doesn't necessarily apply to other stuff, but it does with pens. So here's the different things I've written in over the years, and I've jumped back and forth for many eons of the podcast, because this goes back to 2014 or 2013. I would go back and forth between legal pads and composition notebooks. And there's huge benefits in each one. Like, I would buy them in bulk, obviously, not huge bulk because I don't have a garage. But, I buy them, whatever, a certain number at a time. I don't know which one I started with, probably legal pads, but maybe it was composition books or whatever. Probably I started with whatever I had on hand. And then at some point, I think I developed a preference for a long time of legal pads, but a couple issues with legal pads and my life, and my lifestyle. There's no way, the way I live my life, that the first couple pages of that legal pad are going to be staying on there. And also, so that was the main downside of the legal pad. One, for a left-hander, legal pad's great for writing. You don't have anything to rest your hand or your arm on. Really good for having plenty of space and stuff like that. But downside is you lose your top page. You also don't have a cover page. So at first glance, like I would write it usually on the ripper offer thing at the top, like if I remembered. And then you could technically lose pages in between, depending on how messy I am, because I'm just a messy person. And I mean, my life involves a lot of transferring. It always has. For the long time, it was like I was literally, I would get up, get ready for work, pack everything I needed for work and working on the podcast, bus, bike, or walk to the train station, take a train to work, right on the train ride to work. Sometimes I would switch workplaces in the middle of the day, so I'd take another train and ride on the train again. And then I would take the train home and ride on the train yet again. And then put everything back in my bag and then do it again. And even now, so that was like the downside of legal pad. It's just, whatever, it didn't work. Now, so then at some point I was switching back and forth or using composition books. Man, this is great sleep podcast material. I don't mean to pat myself on the back. I would have no idea, even though I probably talked about this before. Composition books, a lot of benefits. Sturdy, I would say hardy, except with one exception, which is a critical one, which we'll get to, a little teaser there. It has a front cover, but usually there's like an abundance of pages, so with the way Scoot's organized this thing, front cover may not always be accurate because, like, what if I, changed it up in the middle of the thing? Including the fact that at some point, okay, and this kind of goes into a downside, maybe too many pages, because what would happen is at some point I said, well, like I was working, like again, going into like working at different locations, really a lot of improvisational style working, not improv performance. But I have 30 minutes. I'm at this location, which is not at home. What should I be working on for the podcast? And I don't have, like, maybe it's not working on a laptop. So it's like, oh, maybe I should be watching a TV recap. So what I did a lot of times with the composition books is I would work from the back for a TV recap and then the front with a written episode. And circumstantially, that's a good solution for the circumstances, but for organizational purposes and ease of use, it just had a lot of downsides. One was like, there's so many pages, so then you get into the middle sections, and it might have been like, hey, if this is Breaking Bad, like, where's the next episode, or that. But the critical problem with composition books, and again, with me in composition books, is at some point I'm going to need something to be torn out of there. And that means and I'm like, I may not decide to just go like when you tear out a page in the composition book, the corresponding opposite page immediately detaches. And what if that page is a thing? Also, I don't honestly know why. I mean, I could see with legal pads, it was just the losing of pages that was, and not being able to, at a quick glance, say, what is in this composition book? Because to be honest, like the time schedule, even now with this podcast is there's just so many pieces that go into making the podcast and having a proper mind frame. And so, like, if I get all the way down and set up to record and go through the process, and then I realize I have the wrong notebook, like, that's just, like, keeping those errors, that's just an obstacle to making a good show and of, like, consideration of my time, like, taking care of future Scooter or whatever. And that would happen a lot, even with my next solution. But at some point, and I'm not exactly sure why, I think probably the number of pages, the number of pages, and also really taking 2 composition books with you. And, oh, by the way, the composition books with removable pages is the same issue. Like the tear out pages is the same issue. Like it just, those things are like a sturdy composition book without removable pages is sturdy even in Scoots' book until I violate the time-space principle of a composition book and like start to impact its integrity by ripping a page out. So I think it was just the impossibility of traveling on a regular basis, a daily basis with 2 composition books, a laptop, other like supplementary materials, laptop charger, pens, my lunch, anything else I need for work, or now that I work from home, like 2 to 3 days a week. 2 composition books and a laptop, that's really pushing the limits of a laptop sleeve and putting it in the main section of my backpack. So probably those are the reasons I left composition books. At some point, and again, I don't know the number A4, A5, but at some point, I picked up a couple, and I don't know, people that went to university, or at least my university or college experience in the U.S. was that you would take most of your essay-based tests in these small square notebooks or test booklets those ones had a soft cover. Maybe they're called, I don't remember what we called them. They were light blue book. Is that what they called them? And at some point, I think either during a giveaway at a conference or something, I got a couple of those, or maybe I bought some, or I don't know. But I had access to a couple of those. And I was kind of playing around with them. Maybe it was even personal journaling. And I said, wait a second, can you just buy these? And then I realized, then I went into that world, which has been the world probably since, definitely before 2018. Maybe I'm guessing, so I shouldn't say definitely, but more than likely, at least 5 to 6 years of this would have been up until recently, of these we'll call them A5s, even though I don't know if they're A5s, which have a paperboard cover. They have a certain number of pages, which is usually enough pages to do 2 episodes of a TV show, or about 2 episodes of a written sleep podcast. They have a blank front cover that most colors you could write on and say, hey, this is episode 5 and 6, or hey, this is Great British Bake Off 2 and 3. And then if it goes over, I say plus half of 4, 1 of 2. And you can get them in different colors. So then at least I would know, and it's still, I never had a system. But at least at a glance, I'd say, oh, okay, that's Journey in the World of Friends 5 is red. And both of those, if you have 2 of those, one for your TV recap and one for your written episodes, they easily fit in a laptop. They don't take up a lot of space. They're also sturdy. If I was traveling on a trip, even taking 3 of them, like 2 that have already started writing in, let's say I'm going out of town for a week or even 2 weeks, it's easy to take 3, maybe even 4, but 4 may be more than I need. And they're very sturdy, and they're short enough, and I just have and maybe fragile enough that I'd never tear pages out of them. Because again, like the composition book, I guess I more have a sense of their fragility, so I just don't take pages out of them. I mean, not 100%. I've broken that rule, but I've regretted it. But they also have their back cover, so it's like if I need to write something down, maybe I just write it on the back cover. Okay, this moves into our new current setup, which who knows how long this will last. But a couple things I tried in the interim there, so you can kind of see what the things are. At some point, when I think maybe before the Patreon or once we had a Patreon, I said, what if I took pictures, I digitized our written notebooks? So long-term listeners will remember a lot of stuff around this, probably better than me. So I would use an app called Scannable that would create a PDF, and I'd just take pictures. But that's very time consuming. I even tried paying my daughter to do it, but it was it was just very time consuming, and it just didn't work. It was no workable way. Believe it or not, there was even a time where I was giving giveaways of those. You could do some stuff, and I would send you one of my old notebooks that I digitized. But again, that was also pretty labor intensive, where I said, well, shouldn't I just be working on what's got to get done for the weekend? So that didn't really work, even though in the grand scheme of things, it would have been that would have been cool to have everything digitized. But I just don't have this. Even if I had the system, I don't think we would have the time. Or at this point where everybody's paid that works on the show, it's okay, but there's no way to offset that time or labor cost. So that went out of the window. But at some point, on some forum somewhere, where they talk about discounts and writing stuff, there was a discounted system where it was a notebook that was erasable and digitizable. It wasn't digital, it was paper-like, but it was a plastic, not quite I don't know how to describe it. I think it was called Rocketbook. And conceptually, it was a pretty cool idea. It was semi-permanent ink that you could erase. But I did find with the lefty situation, that was an issue. And then again, so you would write in the notebook, and it probably had 20 pages, and then you could digitize it with their app, and then erase it with a special, I think a spray and a wipe or whatever. But I think the main downside of that was again, having the time to do a system like that, and also being left-handed. Okay, so fast forward to actually just this spring, I was in conversation with someone outside the podcast in a different business that involves a lot of handwriting and legal pads, actually. And they said, I just switched from legal pads to this. Now, they had a dedicated device for it, but I was can you tell me, they had mentioned in passing how happy they were. And they were friends. So I said, hey, can you tell me more about this? And they were telling me all the benefits and showing me it. And I was like, wow, that really seems to work. So at first, I literally was about to jump in with this dedicated device. But then I said, somehow, and again, this is just my choices, not right or wrong choices. And knowing myself, I said, whoa, let's not spend any money just yet. And then I kind of reassessed and read some reviews. And again, then I said, I think this is going to be a good choice. And then I said, okay, let's reassess it one more time. It wasn't super expensive either. But it's just the idea of adding a new device where you kind of get into this portability. And it seems very portable and very thin, but it's okay. Couple issues. So this is just for my unique situation. One, okay, if I go out of town now, so I have dyslexia. So I can't, and part of my wind down routine is reading a book on a Kindle because it has accessibility features so I can read when I go to bed. So literally I can't, and it doesn't have the blue light you have to worry about with your phone or a tablet. And so Like it really is difficult for me to sleep if somehow I go out of town and I don't have a Kindle, because it's just part of my routine. It's a comfort thing and it's an accessibility thing. So if I go anywhere, even for one night, I really have to have that device with me. Then I already have to have my laptop with me, right? Then if I'm be gone longer than 2 or 3 nights, it's definitely easier on me to have the old broken iPad, which is like an old iPad I have with a cracked screen, have a screen protector on it. Oh, that'll become part of the story, actually, the current screen protector. But so I said, okay, like I have to have that. I mean, I could watch stuff on my phone or my laptop, but again, most apps don't allow you to download stuff onto your laptop to watch. And trying to take notes on a plane while you're watching something on your phone where you're looking for details is just not good for the podcast. So I said, oh, do I really need mixing another device into that mix, as nice as it sounds and as it sounds like it's workable, is probably not a good idea. Then I also was like, well, what if I don't like it? I could return it, but within 30 days, but it's like, what if, it's like day 60? It just didn't seem like a good use of resources, to be honest, with me. If I'm not going to use it for 2 to 3 years, even if it's only a couple $100, that's kind of my thing is okay, let's say it's $300. Let's say it's $365, even though I think it was less than that. You say, okay, you think you're going to use it every day for 2 years or most days, 2 years? Okay, that's 50 cents. Okay, what, you think you'll use this every day for 3 years? Maybe. Then you're at 33 cents. Of daily. Okay. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's just one of the ways I use to think about my, okay, well, that's a pretty good deal. If you're using it and writing every day, 50 cents is a bargain. But if you're only going to use it for 6 months, it's just, so anyway, so those are the things. So then what I did was I said, what about, one of these pencils you could use with could I use a pencil within my old cracked screen iPad? Or a stylus or something. And then I have an old stylus, a couple of them, just a finger replicator, we'll say. And they said, well, I got to get a better screen protector from my iPad, just for the cracked screen, for people using its protection. So I got one that was like a little bit more texture. And I tried that with the stylus. But again, the left-handed part was like an issue. But I said, okay, and again, I'm still working in my pen and paper notebooks during this time. These are just ongoing experiments in the spring. Then I returned to that idea and they said, no. And then I said, wait a second, you're using this old broken iPad, which is sooner or later going to get you've way exceeded the 3-year mark of owning this iPad and you're still getting use out of it, but maybe you shouldn't be work using it. Maybe you should just get a new device where you could, what if you could get a new device that you could watch stuff for the podcast on it, write in it, and do other, read emails or watch stuff when I'm recording the podcast or whatever. So that's what I stumbled on, why don't you replace your iPad and get an Apple Pencil too or whatever. And so eventually, and then I found out, okay, well, what app would I use? And again, I tested this stuff before I made the purchases. I don't know if that's super important, but finally that's what I got to. And I said, okay, let's do that. And so then I said, and then I was comfortable. I said, okay, if this doesn't work, I still have a device that I'm going to get value out of, and still can use it for the production of the podcast in a lot of ways, even if I don't use it to handwrite notes. But I'll be honest with you, I've been absolutely blown away with the ability. So I got that. So, I mean, this is just what I'm using again, but I got a smaller, mini iPad. I have the Apple Pencil 2, I believe. And then I use an app called Good Notes. And I was able to test it out, with a monthly subscription, though they have annual subscriptions, I think, or maybe there was a trial and you purchased it. And so the benefits of that have been, it's about the same size as the notebook I was already using. There's settings for left-handers. And, with some testing and learning, it's pretty much like handwriting, pen and paper, though you can erase a little bit easier. And you could create I create different notebooks. So basically, I guess that's it about where we're at, starting on episode. And now it's easy for me to look back that it was Journey into the World of Friends 8 that I started testing it out. And I can even see that there's different pen styles and stuff. And you could kind of choose, like I started with graph paper, which I seem to prefer, but lately, whatever, the auto update now is choosing plain paper for me. So I have to figure out that setting. So, okay, so that's it of like the nuts and bolts. That was first half. Okay, let's get into this Journey into the World of Friends, though. So conceptually, those of you that listen to, if you haven't listened to Journey into, what is it? Is it called Journey into the World of Tomorrow or something like that? Is it, they both start with Journey? I think so. Maybe that was but whatever. We did a series a few years ago where Journey into the Land of Tomorrow, I think it was called. I mean, I make this pod, J-Lot. Yeah, it was called J-Lot was the shorthand, Journey into the Land of Tomorrow. So that's what I would have put on the front of the notebook, J-Lot 1. And that was like, came out of that time we all spent at home in 2020 and playing D&D with family members. And then saying, hey, what about doing something like this as a series, a group of friends playing a role-playing game? And it also came from my daughter and I taking the Yale or Harvard happiness course, and trying that out and saying, oh, okay, just one of the things was like, I don't know, I think we both ended up like doing some Imagineering. Oh no, this is a different course. We took an Imagineering course, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. So anyway, I don't know. I guess turns out I have no idea. Lori Santos, right? And so whatever, like part of whatever one of those two things was like, hey, what's up with Tomorrowland? It doesn't work in Disneyland or Disney World, in my opinion. So I was just playing around with those ideas, and I said, wait a second, this is like separate from the Sleep Podcast as a shared interest with my daughter and a hobby or for relaxation. But then I was like, yeah, this is interesting. Like, it'd be cool, like, for characters to, like, explore something new. And, and then I said, oh, wait a second, like, this could be like a campaign in a D&D adventure. So that was where that series came out of, about friends going into it. And then I said, oh, wait a second, this could also be the same theme park. It could take place in the same world as the girl from a theme park, or the theme park raised a girl who raised a theme park who raised a girl. Untitled series we have, Theme Park Girl in a Theme Park, which is in no other older series you could check out. I don't know if it's pre-600 or not. But, if it is, then you support the show directly. You can listen it might be at post-600. Okay, so that series went well, I thought. And I said, okay, at some point I liked the characters. I liked their interactions. I liked a couple things about it. So I said, I'd like to return to that someday. And then I also have had for years this idea of the girl in a theme park, like anytime I ride, what's it called? Small World. My story brain absolutely explodes. Like, it's like if everybody in this ride was sentient, this is like a story, a story load. What do they call it? Mother load? Yeah. Like, and constantly taking notes when I'm riding that ride of like, okay, like, and then like for the girl in the theme park. But it's never quite, this has been like whatever since I made that series. Anytime I ride that ride, I'm taking the same notes. So, but it never quite has like gotten over that of like that final hump to go into production. And then at some point I said, wait a second, this could also be the adventure for the Journey into the Land of Tomorrow. And I said, yeah, this would be cool. Like them, like if it was like a one-off adventure of them going into this attraction. And then initially, to be honest, I said, okay, well, what if we could have both? And then I said, well, this is the kind of conversations I honestly have with myself in the relaxed times of like pre-writing, like when I'm taking a shower, walking the dog. Okay, well, so what do you mean you to have both? And I said, well, we could do like 2 timelines. Maybe we switch back and forth, or maybe we do 5 episodes with the adventurers and then 5 episodes with the girl in a theme park. And I said, okay. But again, I don't have pre-writing time. So there isn't it's just part of my creative process too. I think it's better if I focus on the one series, even if I did have time, which I don't conceivably see how that would happen. Like the idea of me like writing on one series for 2 hours or whatever, and then switching to the other one, like if there was a magical, like a gift of time or something like that. Just, I don't see that. I don't know, that brain shift. I don't know about it. So it's just better if I'm pre-imagining. So I can't, and again, like the podcast is a moving train, and I know this is hard for, like, if you're not in this kind of production to wrap your head around, because a lot of people say, well, why don't you just take a break or put out repeats or put the show on hold? But those things, it just doesn't work for the sustainability of the podcast. The podcast has to stick to a regular schedule with new releases in order to exist, even for the old content to be there. It's just kind of the mechanisms of the creator economy. Like it just is like, and I mean, I've found that to be workable at this point, but it has limitations. So it's like a limitation of it. It's like for me, it's like, okay, I've got to be putting out every other week, recording every other week, unless there's I schedule a break way ahead of time, an episode of the written series. And it's just what I prefer, to be honest. Even, sometimes like hard work, like it's like even when it's hard work or intense work, it's like, well, that's my preference. I think it's what works for the show. Like Sleep With Me is supposed to sound free and easy, but this kind of stuff is what makes it sound free and easy. And it's like a creative challenge that I enjoy 60% of the time. So it doesn't give me a lot of time to pre-prep series or know where they're going to go, but that's, I guess, a freedom too. So I didn't have time to even, like, literally, and today's the day, like, just to jump ahead. Yesterday, I finished and recorded Journey into World of Friends finale. So this morning was the first day writing on the new series that's going to come out that I'll record in about 2 weeks. Episode 1. So that's literally the lead time. I have just a bare concept and a few images and ideas, and then I'm going to deliver episode 1. And again, it's different rules for a sleep podcast than a TV show or a film or a book or a short story. It's just a different rule system. But that's always kind of Sleep With Me is like, it becomes what it is while I'm making it. So that, and I guess that's what, so that leads into, this show or this series became what it was as I was making it. But when I was initially getting ready to make it and even writing the first episode or 2, I thought it might be this 2-hander or whatever you want to call it, like, or two-timeliner. Like, but they would not, like, but they're not, the timelines are maybe, they're not over, like they're in parallel, not overlapping. I didn't want it to become an interactive timeline. So these timelines would have remained separate because, I don't know, I just thought that like they just seemed very distinctly separate things in separate tones. And I think that's important because that's what ended up happening was like, okay, Yeah, but like as I was writing with Journey into the World of Friends and inhabiting those characters and that kind of narrative voice to that show, I could easily, even on a gut level, sense the distinctness of like, how do you go from this style, like, to a totally different style of The Girl in the Theme Park, those episodes were narrated by each attraction about her presence there, or by, they're kind of like this third party narrator, and they just had a different style and feel to them. And she, as a character, has a very different style and feel. It's just a much different, even though they're taking place in the same worlds. I would say that one's like ethereal in a sense, maybe. I don't know. And so I was troubled by that, to be honest. I said, okay, this is creatively troubling. Like, clearly, as I was getting episode 1 done, I was like, okay, can't just go to another episode 1 with Girl in a Theme Park. Like, I'm not, like, I don't have the substance here. I'm not even sure what this Journey into World of Friends, like, I want to get this story flushed out a little more. So I said, okay, well, maybe we'll do a back half, or maybe we'll produce enough and mix them up after I've written them. Like, maybe I'll do 3 and then 3 and then 3 and then 3. But that gut sense that, like, I don't know if this is workable. And honestly, like, a lot of times I do have to put myself in the listener's shoes and say, what would that be experience like? Even if there's 6 episodes apart or 4 episodes apart or whatever, it's like that's, if it's jarring to me creatively, like switching, it's probably going to be jarring to a listener, even though, I think you know what I'm saying. So at some point during the process, that idea was just set aside. And I said, no, I'm just going to focus on this. So like probably around episode 2 or 3 or 4, it was like, no, the conceptually, I'm just going to stick with this story or whatever, not conceptually. I'm going to just stick with this. And honestly, at the time I said, well, maybe we'll just cut it short. Like we'll make 10 episodes. So that's one creative, part of the Venn diagram, I don't know, or whatever, like one creative area. There was a couple others, like this was the second year that I wanted to produce seasonal episodes within an episodically modular series. When I'm recording them ahead of time and writing them ahead of time, and there's a very fluid schedule. And this year was slightly more successful, and probably next year will be even more. Oh, next year, I'm hoping to wrap it up so we can do a seasonal series. But, this year was slightly more successful. I was able to record a Halloween episode that could have been used other places. So it was a vague Halloween episode. Then I wanted to record like a Turkey Day style episode, but like that, I said, okay, I don't think that's workable. And like within the schedule, because we just didn't have a ton of wiggle room, which I'll talk about too. But then I did get to the point where it was like, okay, we could do a holiday style episode. And then I was able to just write a holiday style episode. That was its own campaign or whatever, its own little adventure. Now, the other thing that happened was, while initially I was like, well, this could be 10 episodes. Suddenly this became one of our, in whatever you want to call the modern era of Sleep With Me, where we stuck to 10 or 12 episodes. This one will clock in at, not counting this episode, 14, plus this episode is 15, with a little holiday break, I think. Which is just because of the story asked that of me, honestly, and honestly, I could have probably gone, I could have like stayed in that world. I mean, it just was like one of those world of unlimited choices. I mean, keeping it on the rails, versus like, where would they go next, or what other rooms, or what other it really is like, that's why I was doing so much writing when I'm on that attraction. which bodes good for one day, not in early 2024, or probably maybe not in 2024, the girl in a theme park going there. But yeah, honestly, probably not in 2024. But there was another like big creative, couple big creative decisions that we'll kind of wrap up with. And I kind of feel like the analogy is like one of those, like, it was almost like a mural. Like if you had like a 50-foot stretch of wall, and I'm not a visual artist, so, but you have a mural that the artist is drawing from the left side of the 50 thing all the way to the right side of the 50. And as they're drawing it, it becomes more and more detailed until they get to the end where it's very detailed. And then they go back and then they like add color, like they're just drawing outlines. And then they go back, and at about 24 feet, you notice that there's some light colors, and then slowly colors and more details. And more depth and visual elements develop until you get to the 50th foot. And I don't know, like, exactly, it's a metaphor, because the development of the show kind of felt like that to me, this show. And just, like some people don't like this, like that makes stuff. And I'm not one to say there's a right way or wrong way. Like this is just the creative choices I was making and within a very specific context. But it's like for Sleep With Me, at least, and in my opinion, that's okay. Like, to be like, I think I'm making this. Oh, wait a second. Like, and then by the end being like, oh, this is much clearer than what you started with. So when I started, even before I knew that there wasn't going to be a split, but even when I started, I said, okay, we got a situation here, because when we did the first series, we were playing D&D on a weekly basis. And we were very familiar, and our brains were just like, I was the DM. And so like I was in a DM headspace. And I was just kind of familiar with the beats of like a weekly meeting, and of like the structure and stuff. And I think like, I don't know, so I was not in that place when I got to like starting the series. And there's a big important thing there is like, when I first started, I said, holy cow, now I'm going to have to write a campaign, because I don't have like this, like, these like faint, like, images, like, from like looking at something that are still in my brain. Like I'm gonna have to write a campaign from scratch, and then have the characters play the campaign. And then so I'm gonna have to write the campaign, then write the characters playing the campaign, which is two separate layers of writing, two different styles of writing. And at first I said, okay, like, let's go for it, man. Definitely a fun creative challenge, especially, hey, okay, this campaign is going to be just in this one attraction. So I like did a bunch of research, did a bunch of reading, bought some new books, looked over those books and resources, refamiliarized myself with some of the rules, and what are people thinking when they're going in to develop campaigns. And that's very time consuming, and it's a different style of work than writing episodes of a sleep podcast. And so it tended to stretch out what it was taking to produce the first couple episodes. Even at some point, maybe in the first episode, I said, okay, wait, first of all, like, I don't know, like, so where I slowly started like shedding some of these ideas, or maybe it was in the first episode, maybe the second one. I can remember like plotting the campaign very specifically. So home base, starter adventures, motivations, secret motivations, or like want versus need for each of the characters. okay, what are the rumors? The kind of first things, like, this is very D&D, but this is, again, another important kind of part. It's like this show became not a D&D, whatever those podcasts are called, like actual play or whatever. Like, that was what Journey into the Land of Tomorrow was. It was a fictional actual play podcast. Fictional characters playing a fictional campaign, actual play. But so this show was very different eventually. But I started out making that, okay, this is going to be fictional characters playing a fictional role-playing game campaign. So you have to write both kinds of fiction. And it's fun. Don't get me wrong. But like writing a D&D campaign is like just a different style of writing. And then writing fictional people playing that campaign is a totally different style of writing. It may not sound like it, but it is. One is much more analytical and intellectual and like very building a world based on concrete rules. And then another one is based on interpersonal dynamics and choice, whatever. Like, it's different, just different styles. So, like, I realized, like, from this, like a lot of people listening to shows realize, like, there's the budgets for the podcast, and the time budget is one of those budgets for the show that is very limited, even with more resources. I mean, well, right now we don't, but, like, even if we had more resources, like, that time budget just wouldn't shift very much. Just because there's only, like, so, I mean, it's just a reality. So very quickly I said, okay, we're coming, we're like I'm coming up short on the time budget. And so this isn't working. So at some point I was like, wait a second, like, what if they, and it actually happened way more organically than it sounds, because now I'm like quarterbacking it. Because I don't know the episodes, but basically it started with them in the town, which was Main Street, USA, train station area, and it was blocked off, and they were there. Like, if you've played those games before, like, they had their initial call to adventure from the Baron of the Boil. Now, meanwhile, that's one thing, but then also I had to think about the actual players and write their thing, and I said, okay, like, they haven't played together in a while. There's been some interpersonal things, because there has to be interpersonal CONFLICT, like, even in a sleep podcast. Otherwise, the show would be too boring and it wouldn't work. Like, so there has to be different levels of CL, like, not interpersonal is only one. But so, I don't know. At some point I said, okay, this just isn't working. But it was more like on a daily basis, so it was subtle, because it was like they went from where they were. I think maybe they took 2 episodes for them to head out. Then they headed out to this plaza, and they encountered the pollywogs and toads and stuff. And again, like, it was like at some point in there, I realized, oh, they'll be making the adventure. I can remember I was running in Strawberry Canyon in Berkeley, and either thinking about the episode or listening to it and saying, okay, like, yeah, this is going to work better if they're designing the campaign. And it doesn't just work on one level. It worked on the personal level, too, because it's like, what are these characters' investment in this game and their personal investments in one another, and how does that play out in the story? And it's a different story if, like, there's a DM and there's a set campaign you're following that's set, and then you create the interpersonal story. Like, how many layers of fiction are we talking? I think there's 3 layers, but like, that's different. And if you have a strong, like, that offers one opportunity, like we saw in the first series, it was very straightforward. And it actually had, like, whatever, red herrings. It's like, okay, we have to collect these 3 pieces of this staff and go here and then do this. Where this one, it was more, I don't know how to explain. Like, I can just explain that eventually we got to the fact where it's like, okay, this will work better for the character story too. If they're working together, that just has more elements at this point. I don't know, for some reason that part of the story, the human part of the story, the heart of the story was more interesting for them to try to build a campaign together, particularly because there was like a new romantic, like there was romantic changes and a new like romantic partner in the series. And it was very vague, but that their world, they were experiencing new changes to their world that they lived in. And again, so vague that, like I said, like when I started the series, I didn't quite know that. But as I got on, it was like, oh, more and more details were getting filled in my head, at least, maybe not in the story. Oh, they're all like living just together in this one place now, which they didn't plan on doing. And they're kind of escaping through this game. And then it suddenly became, wait a second, like, and I had no intention of this when I planned it, but it was like, does this, like, the story changed on me, where I was like, I think these characters need to be in this game. And just where there was just this creative shift, and it was subtle, but it was like, hey, they need to live in the game. And again, those details became more and more thing, like, as I was like, okay, like, even though, like, even at the end, I wanted to kind of explain away or put a button on it and have them return home or have a reason why they didn't return home. I mean, there is reasons in the story world, but like it's not so clean. And because I said, well, this just isn't clean, really. But where it suddenly just became like, okay, the characters are going to stay, this world, like almost like that, like where they were like, wait a second, we're the, like, it's like, that's like the mural analogy, taking it deeper. It's like, and I mean, this happens when you're writing a lot of times, or I do, like not in this series, but like where it's like that person is drawing the mural and they're realizing they're drawing them. They're like, I'm in the mural, like, or wow, I didn't realize I'm writing, like drawing out these issues. Like, oh boy, I didn't realize that looks like the person I'm unhappy with. So I don't know, there was something about it. And it also came, I mean, I'm sure I can't point to this directly, but there is like this thing of like, listening to listeners, but not and the seeds being planted and empathizing and having compassion, putting myself in the listener's shoes of like, just these subtle things that people like, and I mean, please don't send me harsh feedback because that won't help. But like, I don't know, just the idea that an actual play show has this exclusivity to it. I don't know. I have to have a sense that also influenced where this became suddenly a story that was just a work of fiction and not fictional actual play fiction. Fictional fiction of actual play fiction. But the fun thing was it became this mechanism that I could still play with and the characters could still play with. Like, it was like, there was never a point until the very close to the last few episodes where it was like, they were 100% sure this was real. And even where, and I mean, like, this is me pulling the cover off, like where I was like, sure how it was going to end. Until, I don't know, like 10, maybe 11, probably 9. I don't know when, because I haven't listened to those episodes in a while. But like, where I was like, oh no, this is it. Like, this is not a dream. I didn't want it to be a dream, or like this isn't some metaphorical experience. No, this is real. Like, you've transferred into this world. And I don't know, that changed the stakes and stuff. Like, mostly the emotional stakes. But why was I talking about that? I don't know. So I don't know. It just became important. That like in some sense, it just became a story of characters in the journey. And I think like again, maybe sometimes it's like they needed to journey into the world of Friends, to journey into their own world of Friends. But on they actually did journey into the world of Friends. I didn't realize that third part would be there, where it's like, no, you have journeyed into the world of Friends. Like, that wasn't my intention naming the series or starting the series. but it was like if there was some what do they call it, omniscient or whatever thing in that story universe, it would have said, no, you have journeyed into this. Wasn't metaphorical. You've journeyed into the world of friends. Like, I'm sorry. Like if and you were going to be okay if Emma Otter was there, like at the end of the series. So don't worry, I'll be well. But yeah, you've fully journeyed into the world of friends. I mean, which is cool because I didn't expect that to be like, I mean, I don't know what year we'll return to this world, but 2027, I don't know. Like, it's interesting to me, like what the story on set up, like in an unintentional way. It was like, okay. And like, even like at the end of the last episode, like, okay, this could have played out a lot of different ways, like with different adventurers. So I don't know. That's that. The only other important thing I'm moving forward to the next series is, so I won't talk about it too much. So then I'll have plenty to talk about when we conclude that series. But it's like, I still haven't 100% figured out the narrative voice for the next series. I think I have a general idea of it, but like some of the concepts have popped, where I had the initial images. And the initial thing I was curious about, which will all, like I'm writing the first episode, which those will be a big part of the first episode. But, like it won't be maybe until I record it, like, oh, okay, this is what the narration's going to feel like. But I do want to keep it in mind that there is a shift because I know like that's just a listener preference thing. It's also a cool creative constraint. Is like, who is narrating this? Why? Like, what do they know? And what is that narration style? And I mean, I'm still like, I had one idea like last week or 2 weeks ago that was new. Like I said, I don't know, man. And then this idea was like, oh, what about this? I started to see who they were, where they were, and how they were talking about the general story. And then I said, and then this past week when it's gotten closer till today, I said, well, but I don't know. Does it need to shift or will that work? So I don't know. Just grateful I get to make a sleep podcast and face these challenges, and that like, and again, people ask like, does it matter like or bother? And I say, no, this is cool that I get to like. This is the context of the show that most people sleep through it. Is like a part of this whole creative construct that makes it fun. It's like a totally different challenge. It has a lot of the rules are similar in my belief that some part of our brain is tracking this. And even like this, it has to come to a conclusion, even if people aren't listening or not. And it has to follow a familiar structure. But within that familiar structure and some of the familiar things, about narrative stuff, that within the sleep podcast, there's this huge other operating rules that you're allowed to do, like fiction within fiction within fiction. I mean, you can read that too, but I don't know. There's just some of the rules are a little bit looser, which makes it great. And of course, the like whatever. What do they call that person that's checking coherence? And not coherency, but coherency is one thing we don't necessarily need as much of. In that other C word about like that doesn't make sense. But when you listen to episode 3, what they did in episode 7 doesn't make any sense. And I say, yeah, you're right. You're definitely right about that. Yeah, I don't know. It's dreamy, man. It's just like. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate it. And good night, everybody. All will be well, as Emma Otter says. All right, this is Scoots. I want to say thanks and good night to the 400 through 500 people who signed up to support the show back the first time we ever asked for support. And these are people that support the show or no longer do, but they were the ones that they're one of the main reasons Sleep With Me exists today. Each of them individually and collectively. So, yeah, I want to thank Joe, Eric, and Leonard, Vanessa, Meow, and Lange, Jessica J., who's still a patron, Patricia L., who's still a patron, Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Ariel, David, and Victoria. Thanks, and good night. Daniel, Elizabeth, and Gustavo. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Aaron, Jason, and Stephanie. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Neil, Kimberly, and Chris. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Ben, Patrick, and Fred. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Mary, Christopher, and Chelsea. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Sophie, Joanne, and Patty. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Laura, Alec. Alec's still a patron, Alec M., and still very, involved in, involved in the community. Thanks, and good night. Aaron, Paul, and Ian. Thanks, and good night. Brendan, a lot of declined, Tammy. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Justin P., an active patron still. Thanks, Justin. 438 or 430, but that's on the spreadsheet. So 437. Thanks, Justin. Tony, then Jess K., another pretty active person. 440. So 439, Jess. Fern, another person I've interacted with. Matthew P., another person I regularly interact with. 442, Matthew. So 441. Ragnar, Pam, Allison, Sean M. with Sean with a W, 446. Thanks and good night, Sean. Thanks. So you're 445. Russell, Delia, and Nicole. Thanks and good night. Daniel A. Not sure if this is my nephew or my brother, Daniel. And I don't have a way to find out either, but thanks, Daniel. Either both of you, because I know you're both. Oh, then, yeah. Okay, so it's my brother, Daniel. His Meredith is there, too. So thanks, Daniel. Thomas, Stephanie, and Catherine, thanks, and good night. Paul, Carrie, thanks, and good night. Tara, T-A-R-A, so Tara or Tara. M is still active patron, 457. Chloe, Ryan, Jenny, thanks, and good night. N.Y., Corey, and Jillian, thanks, and good night. Kiri, Melanie, and Jake, thanks, and good night. Kevin K. I haven't heard from you in a while, but I remember interacting with you. Still a patron. Kevin K. is 467, so 466, Kevin. Daniel, Andrew, and Amy, thanks, and good night. Stephanie, Christy, and Steve, thanks, and good night. Christy, John, and Kathy, thanks, and good night. Jacob, Julie, and Dobbs, thanks, and good night. Kathy, Amy, and Katie, thanks, and good night. And then Diane L., still a patron. Diane L., 481, so 480. Let's see, we got Diane M., Matt, and Glitterati. Glitterati's still a patron. So thanks, Glitterati. 486, so 485. Elaine, hello, thanks. Salasa, still a patron. Thank you, Salasa. 489. And Nicole S. is still a patron, 490. Teresa, Peter, someone with the same name as the web-based hero, Peter P. Not a patron anymore. So Ian, Joel, and Jessica, thanks, good night. Wendy F., another person I met in real life. Wendy F., we had dinner together, not that long. It feels like it was not that long ago, but now I'm like, was that last fall or was it in the spring? But Wendy F., 496, Wendy, that's 495. Oh, no, but it's probably even sooner because I think I put anyway, thanks, Wendy. E., Nancy, and Gregory, thanks, and good night. And Damon D on the backup is number 500, so 499 or 498 or something. Damon D. I don't know why I call it like Damon D. How it became Damon D on the backup. Maybe it was from the party, but interesting because But it's also interesting that right towards the end of 400s and the end of 500s are people I had met in real life, too. So it's cool. And then Damon wrote a song for the podcast, so back in the day. So thanks, and good night, everybody. Sleep With Me wouldn't exist like now. Like you saw how many people, there's just a trickling of people that are still around. But it's the people that supported the show while they were listening or while they're in a position to do so or took another action. That's how we really exist. And I appreciate it being here. That's why we've done these thank yous at the end of every show, because it reminds me, I record them before I record the show. So thanks and good night, everybody. All right, everybody. Hey, Scoots here with the Tuck You In message, and you'll be hearing on the pre-rolls, hopefully a fun game show version of this, and then the mid-rolls, a shorter version. But this is kind of like a message, decided to try to change the direction of things. And I've tried to be clear about this, but I want to be as clear as possible and do it in the spirit of sleepy joy and delight. So I'm going to run through, we've been talking about super listeners and supporting the show, but I want to be really specific about who does not need to support the show or even think about it kind of thing. Like, you don't need to support the show if kind of, but real, like this is real, like, in the sense, if you happen to be listening to this right now, and sometimes I realize my stress or my feelings around the sustainability podcast can leak through, right? And impact people inadvertently, and make you feel some kind of way. And I have to I want to right now take a more active, caring hand in that. So if a part of you does speak up, and after I run through all this, and I'll be running through it, and maybe this will be the new direction we take things, when that part of you speaks up, say, no, Scoot says, he said he's not talking to me. If that part of you tries to make, because I have that part of me very strong in me, that makes you want to feel a word that sounds like Shane or Pilt, or any of that kind of stuff. So this one is a post-roll, Tuck You On post-roll, so I'll run through it slowly. But I do have it in front of me, so I'll also be trying to read. One, if you happen to be listening to this, if you're a new listener or you, like you're a person who's only listened once in a while, right? You've only been listening less than 6 months. You don't need to support the show or even think about supporting the show. If you're not in a position to support the show, whether it's financial or you just don't, you're not interested in supporting the show, like, you don't need to support the show. Don't worry. Like, it's great news that I want to be as clear, and I guess in this post roll, I can't be sleepy, joy, and delightful except like that. It's good news. You do not need to support the show. I mean, we still have to put those messages out there and stuff like that, but, it doesn't, if you can't afford to support the show, you're not interested, or you're new, you don't need to, right? And you could say it to yourself if that comes up in those messages, because we still do have to ask, right? But we're not asking you, so you can say, Scoots isn't asking me. Like, the good news or the great news is like, returning this thing, so you're welcome here. And yeah, I guess I'm not guessing. It's not a great time to apologize, but it's like, me, when I get, me trying to, I had to find my way to this, right? Of, hey, I guess I guess I do need to apologize because I had to find my way here of like, I don't want to put those feelings on people that, you can't support the show. You're not interested in supporting the show. If you're new, don't worry about it. And the thing is, because there are listeners who do care, I care and listeners care, and those are the people that support the show. And I've gotten enough messages. We did something with Sleep With Me Plus where people said, "Yeah, I support the show, not just for me." And they want the podcast to be there for you. Like this is real, that they care, and that we're holding you. that the podcast in this quest to make sure Sleep With Me will be around, like, for you. So again, like, I think the tool in this example is like, hey, Scoots isn't talking to me. And by the way, other listeners have said explicitly they have me. I guess this is more apply, like, new listener, you're kind of come from a place, why would I support a podcast that I'm new to, right? So if you just happen to be listening, this is more of like the people like in those other places that it's okay. It's more than okay to be in those places. And that I've actually been in those places too. And now the other side of it is I'm going to run through everything. But yeah, like if you're not in those groups, right, and you say, well, I didn't realize that. Like, I want to be the one providing comfort, like supporting comfort. I want to be a part of this thing for those people you're talking about and whoever you're talking about coming up. You could join us. So I'd love it. But not if you're not in a position to support the show or a place where you'd want to support the show or you're new. Also, the other group I'll talk about now that I was going to record last is like, if it like, the idea of supporting the podcast, or changing how you do things, or like taking those steps or whatever takes away from the show, right? You don't need to support the show. Like if it stressses you out thinking about going through the steps to support the show, or it just seems like here's the thing. I think I even put this in some of this. If it's like Scoot said, it's just too much to ask me right now. I'm not asking you. Like it is like the truth. Like I'm asking someone else. Like it's too much for me right now, Scoots. Like I don't know if I'm in those two groups, but it just feels like too much, or it's not the right time. I see you and I hear you. And and you can say to that party that says Scoots is talking to you, and no, he's not. He said it explicitly. If you say like in your head, no, it's too much to have. Like that's just too much for me. Can't see myself doing that. It's just outside of believe me. Again, I'm not saying this. I'm saying it because I can relate to. I've been in those places, or I continue to be in those places in different aspects of my life. So I can relate, and I'm saying it clearly now, as clearly as I can. Like, when I'm asking for support of the show, I'm not asking you to support the show. It's okay. We have you. This isn't a bit or like a reverse thing. It's the truth. Like, you okay? So I just want to rest with that one. Now, the next two groups are probably not listening right now, but just in case you are, and it's funny, I'm trying to figure out how to word it, like in the mid-roll and the pre-roll. But if you're a regular or average, I realize no one's average that listens to the show, but the way most people listen to the show is what I'm using as an average. And here's the thing. If you're like most listeners, you listen to the show while you're going through a tough time, right? Whether it's different phases or seasons of your life, and maybe you listen for a couple months at a time, and maybe during those months you listen to 2 episodes a week, maybe you listen to more episodes a week. But you use Sleep With Me like a tool when you need it every couple of years, because what I've seen happen is like people getting through high school, then getting into or through those tough times in college, then their first job and getting used to that, then their next phases of their life, and then their first baby, or other phases of life that come on us unexpectedly that we're not quite ready for, and we need some ease and comfort in the deep, dark night, and you just come and go when you need the show. You're actually covered by the sponsors and the listener support because you listen, you start the show, you wind down during the intro, and then you fall asleep during the story, and the episode stops playing at the end of the episode, or you're in one of those small groups that uses a sleep timer. That's a one group. that, right? And most of you don't mind the ads at all. And because the ads, that's the main, like that kind of listening is what the sponsors cover, right? And maybe you check out the sponsors, maybe you don't. Or maybe you're like, yeah, I'm totally fine with the ads. Or you say, well, I realize that, or whatever, a lot of work goes in the show. The ads are necessary. A lot of people love the ads, but some people might be like, well, yeah, it's necessary. I get it. Especially for that kind of listening. You don't need to support the show if you're just listening during these phases of life for a few months at a time. Again, we have you covered. Now, if those changes in your life are big enough that you want to support the show during that time, that's fine. Or you want to you can support the show with one-time support on Sleep With Me Plus if you scroll down. But you don't need to, and you don't need to feel like, don't get caught up in I can't, there's no way for me to target the ads to just super listeners, right? Who are in a place to support the show. So I just have to ask on every episode to get through to the people that are in a place. But yeah, if you only listen once in a while when things are tough or when you need the show or it's baffling, you say, okay, I got Sleep With Me. I'll listen to that this week or this month or even these 6 months. We've got you. You do not need to support the show like we have you. So those are some of the people I wanted to get through to. And then again, if you say, I'm not in those groups and you're just curious, but you say, wow, it would sound, if again, this is only for people not in those groups. If you say, I want to be a part of this thing, I want to be a part of I want to send comfort across the deep, dark night to all those groups of people you just mentioned. I mean, there's people dealing with loss, dealing with their first child, their first job, being out on their own for the first time, a big exam, a big life change, people who would love to support the show but just can't, just not possible for them one way or the other. People that love the podcast so much, they get so much out of it, and new listeners who this podcast might change their life. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. I would miss the show if it was gone for me and for those people, because I'm not in any of those groups really, or I'm not sure. Maybe, if you're sure, then think about supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus. But if you're not sure, I wouldn't do it. I'm kind of in one of those groups. Sounds like a bit much for me. Don't worry about it. We got you. But if you want to be a part of this thing and you're not in those groups, that's who I'm trying to get through to. And it is I wish there was maybe one day, years from now, I don't think there'll be the technology to do that just because the Sleep With Me is so unique. But I want to try to be as clear as I can and as caring as I can, because my joy is to keep this podcast going for everybody and to bring sleepy joy and delight. And sometimes I've felt like in the past, I'm like, how are these things feel like they're in opposition? How can I bring them into unity? And so this is an experiment, which I hope works. And I hope helps us bring things back into unity. So thanks. This is good news. It's good news. We've got you. And you can say to that voice, Scoots isn't talking to me. He's talking to another listener, not to me. So I'm going to listen to the show. This show's for me. This is it's not so much as a gift as the collective goodwill of all of us kind of, I don't know. So thanks.